Well, okay, look, by the way, Charmed, the TV show, has got it right. That's how the universe really does run on magic. All this physics and science stuff is just crap. I thought I'd just tell you. But don't worry, I'll flash the neuralizer at the end so you'll totally forget all of the things I just told you. Also, it turns out that there is no such thing as sleep. What happens is that the volcanoes put out all this black dust and it goes around the Earth once every 24 hours, and that gives us the impression of nighttime. And it also explains why you sleep, because what happens is that the black dust goes into your lungs. I mean, the Earth doesn't spin. I mean, you just all fly off into space. What a load of crap that is. And then the black dust goes into your lungs, and then you sort of think, oh, God, I'm going to fall unconscious. You make your way to a bed, and you fall on the bed, and the shock of falling on the bed actually makes all the black dust comes loose, and that way you don't actually suffocate to death. And this also explains how come food comes in all different colours but comes out black, because there's a previously undiscovered anatomical communication between your lungs and your bowel. Am I still stretching there? I'll finish stretching. Okay, well, I'll just finish off with this last bit. Having spent a bit of time on TV, I finally worked out what you need. For women, you want to get ahead on TV, just take some Valium and have that sleepy voice. For the guys, what you need is that sort of, I'll try and do it now, here we go. You need that curiously emphatic, high-pitched voice where you can only speak in 3 syllables at a time. Karl Kruszelnicki, Channel 9, news, while beating your hand in a metronome-like beat. It also helps if you have hemorrhoids to give you a look of true and anxious concern. Okay, now, this is the story, Once Upon a Deadline. So I'll start, and I don't know, basically I've just been like a paddle pop stick in the gutter of life on a rainy day, and they've just told me where to go, and here I am with a bit of paper, so I'll just start reading. Now, firstly, let me just say the deadlines neither move nor scare me anymore. They don't bother me one little tiny bit at all. In fact, I sort of treat them with benign and masterful neglect. In fact, I've actually got really used to the friendly, lovely whistling noise they make as these deadlines just sort of zip past me. So come mid-afternoon, this arvo, on, yes, the inaugural Once Upon a Deadline Writers' Marathon, I wasn't particularly worried when I found that I hadn't yet got inspiration either from the day's events or from the daily paper. Nothing, nada, zip, right? Luckily, inspiration came to me in a blinding cosmic flash as I sat in a writer's cage up at Paddington Markets. Now, it came from this woman, and she was this 70-year-old woman with brown suede mid-ankle boots, black, anybody know this person? Black fishnet stockings, brown leather and suede dress, 3 huge rings, all a bling on each hand, chest-length long white hair, and thick glasses topped by one of those white, you've seen them around, those white cloth fisherman's hats that make the female Japanese tourists look curiously demented. You know the ones? I didn't mean to be that cruel, but yeah, that's what they look like, you know? Anyway, she was sitting, wait for it, she was sitting on a plastic chair that was covered with plastic to protect it from the rain. Okay, now facing her was a young woman in her late teens or early 20s, leaning earnestly forward at the font of all knowledge, while perched uncomfortably on a purloined, upside-down New South Wales milkboard crate, which was covered with a many-folded, multicoloured rug. And the pair of them were only a metre or so from me, so I could hear very clearly the older woman's voice. Now, the advice was not particularly deep. Not so much stuff like, never have sex with anybody who has more problems with you do, but more along the lines of, a piece of bread, lightly toasted, can be eaten for breakfast. And in fact, to be cruel, the advice was amazingly banal, shallow and trivial, even with things like putting milk in the fridge when you're finished with it stops it from going off. And even so, the young woman hung on to every word, and she seemed totally enthralled in a trance, as it were, as she opened up a wallet, took out $20 and gave it to the older woman, and then the young woman then left to be immediately replaced by another young woman who was also seeking total and undeniable truth. Now, just as an aside, I thought that perhaps this older woman was actually not well respected by her family, who did not know that she'd sneak out to the Paddington Markets and get some nice tax-free money, as well as a welcome esteem boost from having people sit worshipfully at her feet. Now, but this is a diversion from the real topic that I found in that moment of cosmic flash of looking at her, which for me, suddenly came to me, human labour with capital leading letters, right? Human labour was what this female guru was showing. And human labour is all over today's pages, from the Industrial Relations Bill to the quote, misaligned wheel guide at Sydney Airport that stopped 5,000 pieces of international luggage travelling on the same planes as their owners. This misaligned wheel guide, one single one, was an example of crappy human labour. But just so you get the big picture here, with a bit of a diversion, in classical economics and in all microeconomics, human labour is one of the three factors of production, the others being land and capital. God bless the internet. So I worked out of Berkelow's bookshop at 8 o'clock this morning, no idea what I was going to do, and I was suddenly impressed by the labour of the working gang that were lifting this huge light pole out of the ground. And then walked along a bit further, impressed by the care and attention that Happy, Happy, the tattooist, was showing to his client Alexandria as she lay on her belly. Now, Happy was this sort of chunky Spanish-American Filipino guy, and he was crouched over his client's lower back and he was tattooing away, and he said, "If you fart, it's double the price." Now, Happy had obviously thought about what he did. You know, he loved it because he pointed out that a tattoo is actually empowering to its owner, which I never thought of, because of the combination of pride and commitment. Usually people will decorate themselves with clothes and hair products and even makeup. That's spack filler to you guys. These are all very temporary, while a tattoo is forever. Now, the next stop was St Vincent's Hospital Emergency, and it's probably one of the best examples of high-quality human labour. St V's is one of the oldest hospitals in Australia, and it's still run by the Sisters of Charity. It sees about 32,000 patients each year, and about a third of them come from via the emergency room. The human labour load in that emergency room is huge. You've got 15 nurses, 8 doctors, and loads of social workers, cleaners, rent-a-cops and the like. This is all high-quality, skilled labour, as distinct from the genial old woman dispensing advice at an hourly rate higher than the doctors and the nurses. Now at McDonald's, which I used to love for the chocolate thick shakes back when I was a taxi driver, I got a different insight to labour. Now, on one hand, you got the workers at McDonald's, and this is in King's Cross, and they were all enthusiastic and young and short. Right? And they were too short to reach up and change the menu signs. So they did it by athletically jumping up and then doing these deft finger movements while right at the top of the arc and then just jumping down again. And while there, I got a different insight into labour from an over-friendly junkie with missing teeth, deep creases on the face and a few dozen coin-sized lesions from infectious carbuncles all over the skin on his body. And he was sitting at the next table with his mates who looked just as shady as he did, and he tried to befriend me by talking about my laptop. And he told me that he was a welder with Qantas, and then when I tried to sort of engage in a bit of friendly conversation, he seemed to have no idea about welding jets. And then suddenly I thought, he thought that this was a trade to be respected, and that he thought I would respect him if he had this trade, but he respected the trade. Now, the Wayside Chapel, which is also in the increasingly gentrified King's Cross area, relies almost entirely upon dedicated, non-judgmental human labour. Now, a few decades ago, the Richmond Report threw thousands of mentally ill people out of the psych hospitals and into the community so that the then unused hospital land could be sold to private enterprise. What did I say? Now, the Wayside Chapel and organisations like it keep these people alive. Every morning, 50 people at the Wayside Chapel get a free breakfast. They get free showers, toilets, free clothes for mentally ill and homeless people. And by the way, most homeless people are, in fact, mentally ill. Each year, the New South Wales government gives the Wayside Chapel less than the cost of a top-of-the-range Mercedes-Benz to do its work. One lousy car, less than that. Hence, the 300 volunteers on the books. And most of these volunteers are highly skilled, even though their salary is zero. Now, when I was working at Concord Hospital, I used to assist a very skilled surgeon in heart surgery, and I knew he was very skilled because he made it look easy. And on the ferry, which we took as well, see how I'm sort of weaving in these places we've gone? Just so smooth, isn't it? The deckhand made looping, that thick mooring rope around the bollard look easy. Now, I've tried it, and it's actually really hard. And these marine types, they don't talk about tying knots. Their jargon is bending rope. And so the ferry took us past the Opera House, and I have a genuine Opera House tile at home with this unique identification number moulded along the side, and I use it for the hot teapots. The New South Wales government, in its bizarre wisdom, decided to sell all their spare tiles. And a certain person bought them, and he sold a few to my friend, who gave me one. Now, on the Opera House, these tiles all sit out in the open in all weather, and they've been specially designed to shed dirt so they look pretty. And when the rain hits, it just washes the dirt straight off. The certain person found himself with thousands of these super high-tech tiles. Yep, he wasn't very good at that certain type of human labour that we call selling, right? So he got all of his now hated tiles, and he used them on his steep driveway, all the way from the street, right down the driveway, all the way inside the garage and to the back of the garage. And everything was fine until the day it rained. And he was coming down the steep driveway and he began to slip, and he hit the brakes, and he continued to slip at the same speed on the ultra-low friction, super high-tech tiles, and zipped straight down the driveway and straight out through the fibro wall at the back of his garage into his swimming pool. Thank you very much.